Hey guys, so by the end of the video, we are going to have this case type working like this. So we are going to be able to select a check-in date and a checkout date, and it is going to be able to calculate stay duration based on these two dates. On the next view, in select rooms, we are going to be able to select a room type and have the room rate calculated automatically. So if it's single, it's going to be 100. If it's double, it's going to be 200. And if it's king, it's going to be 400. So if you are interested in how we do this, keep on watching. Hey guys, so let's continue working on the application that we are working on. In this first view, I'm going to click on configure, and the state duration, I'm going to make it a calculated field. Here, I'm going to click on the gear button. The function, it's going to be a custom function, and let's test if Pega can make that can work the difference between two dates. So the checkout date minus the check-in date. Okay, so now we can see that this date duration is a read-only value. So let's select a check-in date. Okay, so this is pretty weird. We don't want this behavior, but let's test if we select a checkout date, it is fixed. So yep, that's working all right. If we select another date, it's working all right. But I don't want that behavior when I don't have one date. This value is weird. So we can actually make a condition on this expression that it is only going to calculate when both of these values has a value in it. So right now this is null. This doesn't have anything, right? So it shouldn't be calculating anything. So that's not something right. So to do this, we actually can't do this in App Studio. We will have to move to Dev Studio. So probably the first time that you open Dev Studio, you will have nothing in it. So what we have to do right now to achieve this is go to the App Explorer. And here we will always land on this location. I like to think of this as paths, right? If we go one way back, we can see that we get another set of information. So always the work path, this one, is the one where we have our case types. So we can see here that we have the reservation case type. So if we expand reservation, we have all of these things that are related to this case type. All of the fields or properties of our case type are inside data model and inside property. So here we can see that we have the check-in date, the checkout date, the hotel name, the room rate, room type, stay duration, and total. We have added an expression for our stay duration and also our total, right? So these two, the expression for these two values are here in decision. So if we expand decision and expand the clear expression, we can see that we have two properties with the same value as state duration and total. So let's open state duration. And here in the work place, we can see that we have this expression for our state duration. So state duration is going to be equal to the value of checkout date minus check-in date. For this, we can add a condition to make sure that this only happens when certain conditions are met. So let's add a condition. So here we can set if a condition is equal to something, but we can also change the type of condition that we are checking. So let's click on this down arrow. Here we have many conditions, right? The one that I want is one that is for making sure that this property has a value. So let me find it. It's this one. Property reference has a value. So if checking date has a value, then we want to set it duration to some value. So instead of doing it here, we are going to do this over here. But I also want to check if the checkout date has a value. So let's click this plus button to make another one. I'm also going to select the same type of condition, property reference as a value, the checkout date. So only if these two conditions are true, I want to have this value assigned to the state duration. And if not, this is going to be the default, right? I want it to be nothing. So we can put a 0, but I'd rather have no value for this property. So I'm going to save this. And let's go back to App Studio. And let's run the case type again. So checking date, I'm going to say 21. And see, it doesn't calculate. So let's test again. And it's working all right. Now, the next thing that I want to do here is this room rate. I want it to be calculated. So let's work on it. Let's go to our case type. Let's configure this view. And let's make room rate a calculated value. So in functions, I'm going to, so we kind of want to make it a custom, but really we don't have any easy way to make this. So how do we achieve this, right? How do we get the value of this room type and assign one here? For this, we are going to use decision tables. So I'm actually going to cancel this, and I'm going to go to Dev Studio. So I'm going to make this manually. So here in Dev Studio, what I want to create is a declare expression for our room rate. So to do one declare expression, we are going to right click on declare expression and click on create. So here, this declare expression, it's asking us for a target property. So let's put our cursor here, and we are going to click the down arrow. So when we click the down arrow, it is going to give us some options. So what is the target property? It's going to be the room rate. So now let's click on create and open. Here I'm going to collapse this part, and here in build expression, we want to set a room rate equal to, let's see what options we have here. So we can set a value of something, the sum of something, and we have more options than the ones we had in App Studio. So I want to use a decision table because I want to compare one property with different values, right? I want to know if room type is equal to 100 or if it's equal to 200, 400, or 800. So I'm going to select this one. And here it is asking us for a decision table. So we don't have a decision table right now. So what we have to do is to create one, right? So I'm going to call it room rate by room type. I don't know, something like this. But when you enter some values here and click this target button, it is going to create a new, if it doesn't find it, it is going to create a new decision table or a new rule. So here we can see that we have it is telling us what's the label. So it's going to copy the label that we have over here. And let's click on create and open. So this is what a decision table looks like. So here we have this column for conditions. Here we have to select a property. So this property is going to compare with something in this cell, right? So let's click on this and let's select a property. So our property is going to be the room type and what kind of operator or comparations do we want? Equal, less than, or equal to, and so on. So let's select equal. Let's click on save. And now here we want to know if the room rate is equal to single, we want to return 100. To add one more row, we can click here, insert row after, and let's do one for double. So if room type is equal to double, then return 200. Let's add one for the king room type. So if room type is equal to king, then return 400. Then let's do the same for suite. And if none of these conditions are true, then we are going to return nothing. So let's click on save. And now we haven't saved this expression, this declare expression over here. So let's return over here. And now let's click the down arrow and we can see that the decision table is here. So let's click on save. And let's test it. So let's go back to App Studio. And let's click on save and run. Let's go to the next step. And here, okay, so it's not working. Why? Okay, so let's click single. So this actually should be 100. And also it should be read only. So something that happens is that if I go back and then return to that view, we can see that it is there. So that's a bit odd. So what is happening is that it is not updating the page. So what we want to do here, I'm going to click on this configured view and I'm going to refresh the page each time that room type gets updated. So now we are able to edit this field. So let's edit this field. So when we click to edit this room type field, we will get to the right all of these configurations for this field. So we want to refresh it. For this, we are going to need to add an action set. I'm going to click on create an action set. So an action set can consist of one or more events and one or more actions. So the event is going to be, let's see what options we have. So the event for this room type is it when we click it? It could be, but really not. What we want the event to be is when the value for the room type changes. So I'm going to choose change. And what is the action? So these are the main actions. What I want to do is to refresh the page. So the action is refresh this section. So let's click OK. Let's apply the changes. And let's see if this works. So I'm going to exit out of here and let's see if this works. Okay, it seems to be working. Something weird is that I want to be able to change the information in this room rate, right? I want it to be read-only. So I'm going to click again on configure view. In this field, I'm going to make it read-only. So I think it's in presentation. So edit options, I'm going to make it read-only always. So let me apply the changes. And there we have it. Now it's read-only. So if I select nothing, I get 0. If I select suite, I should get 800.